A very lovely good afternoon to all of you. Now, I am Dr. Pooja Johari, and I've been putting my videos on biochemistry on YouTube channel for the past 1.5 months, or you can say when the lockdown started. That is why I have given this channel of mine as a new name of as Lockdown Series. So far we have discussed about different topics of biochemistry related to molecular biology. Today I am going to start up a very new topic, again a very important topic, that is the chemistry of carbohydrates. Now carbohydrates, all of you have studied from class 11th. How do you define carbohydrates? Because see, if we see biochemistry subject as a whole, what all you have to study in this? First of all, you should know what do we eat in our diet. So all of us know we have carbohydrates, we have fats, we have proteins in our diet. What happens inside our body is what is actually biochemistry all about, because it is the study of all the biochemical reactions which are taking part in our body. So obviously if you know the structure of a particular thing, what we are eating, obviously understanding metabolism will be a little bit easier for you. So let's start with a very simple, a very basic topic, that is chemistry of carbohydrates. Now, how do we define carbohydrates first of all? Carbohydrates, if we see simplest definition is, they are what? They are, as you can see from the picture also, they are the compounds of carbon, hydrogen and oxygen in the ratio 1:2:1. But overall, if we see, there has to be a specific definition for carbohydrates. So how do we define them? These are what? These are the polyhydroxy derivatives of aldehydes and ketones. Now, since obviously if they are derived from them, on hydrolysis, they are going to give these products only. And that is how we define these polyhydroxy derivatives of aldehydes and ketones, which on hydrolysis will give aldehydes and ketones. So this is how the carbohydrate classification is also done. So we can say overall, these carbohydrates are classified into a aldose sugar and into a ketose sugar. Obviously, you can identify them. Aldehyde is the functional group, then it will be a aldose sugar. If ketone is the functional group, it will be a ketose sugar. Now it depends upon the number of carbon atoms also. So carbohydrates always begin with a carbon atom having 3, or you can say 3 carbon atom is considered to be the most stable sugar, which is known as trioses. An example of triose sugar is glyceraldehyde and dihydroxyacetone. A very interesting feature about carbohydrates is these aldoses and ketoses are linked as isomers with respect to one another. And that is what exactly happens. If a sugar has 4 carbon atoms, it will be known as tetroses. Example would be erythrose and erythriolose. Basically, if you see the names, there is a difference. Erythriolose means it has a ketone. Keto or U comes. If it has 5 carbon atoms, it will be known as a pentose sugar. So examples of pentoses would be ribose and ribulose. And if it has 6 carbon atoms, it will be hexoses. Or the examples will be glucose and fructose. So this is the definition of carbohydrates as per the functional groups. Right. Then next, you know, every molecule tends to go in a stable conformation. So there are different conformations in which these are existing. If we say one is chair conformation, one is boat conformation. One is, aldehydes and ketones have a tendency to form hemiacetals and ketals as per their methyl group attached to them. So D-glucose can undergo acetal formation. And one is open chain form of glucose. And best part is this open chain form of glucose can be converted into this. Or you can say there is a reaction between first and fifth carbon atom. Suppose if I have to write the structure of glucose, all of us know glucose is having this type of structure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. I can write this structure like this also, C double bond OH. Rest will be similar. So there is what? There is a resonance in this reaction. This is what? This OCH3 or OCH3. So this is what is formation of acetals. Formation of ketals is there when fructose is there. Now this is what? This is open chain structure of glucose. What happens is when this C1 undergoes lactimization with C5, it results into this type of structure. This is what? This is a cyclic structure. This is Fischer projection and this is Haworth projection. Very, very important. This represents carbon 1. So HOH, HOH, OHS, third carbon atom, fourth carbon atom. This is fifth carbon atom and this is sixth carbon atom. So you can say the formula remains the same. It is C6H12O6. The only difference is regarding the conformation. In here, it is existing in Fischer conformation or it is an open chain structure. This open chain can be converted into a closed ring-like structure, which is Haworth structure. Or glucose is also known as glucopyranose. Because it is derived here, you can say structure resembles to that of pyrin. Fructose is known as fructofuranose. I will be discussing these topics in the next slides. So this is how we evaluate. So this is what is shown in this slide also. This is open chain and this is closed chain. Then this is again same thing, Haworth projection, and how it is showing its structure. This is pyranose or this is furanose. Furanose is a 5-membered ring. That is why we call fructose as fructofuranose, whereas we call glucose as glucopyranose. Right? Then this was the classification as per, you can say, the functional group present. Then we come over to the classification as per the number of units present. Because you know carbohydrates are actually derived from sugar cane, and the botanical name of sugar cane is Saccharum officinale. So this saccharum word is derived from sugar cane. So carbohydrates as per their moieties attached are of 4 main types: monosaccharides, disaccharides, oligosaccharides, and polysaccharides. Now, how do we define mono? Mono means single, 1 unit. So they cannot be broken further or they can only be oxidized. Disaccharides means when 2 monosaccharide units combine. Oligosaccharides when 3 to 7 monosaccharides combine. And when more than 7 combine, they are known as polysaccharides. Poly means many. Now, let's take up these one by one. So, if we talk about monosaccharides, mein the examples are glucose is there, mannose is there, fructose, and galactose. So these are the important monosaccharides which have a tendency to undergo isomerism also. Now, one isomerism is functional isomerism, in which there is a difference in the functional group. You can see here the functional group is an aldehyde and here the functional group is a ketone. So they are differing in the functional group. So this is functional isomerism. Similarly, structural isomerism is there, stereoisomerism is there. So different, you can say, types are there. Now, this is a very important concept which is also known as stereoisomerism. Now see, if you compare this structure with this structure, you can see in glyceraldehyde, if I say there are how many carbon atoms? 1, 2, and 3. In glucose, if we see, there are 6 carbon atoms. Just अब ना यहाँ पे you can see ना, this glyceraldehyde is known as D-glyceraldehyde and this is known as L-glyceraldehyde. Suppose if we have to name glucose, what name would be given to glucose? Just by looking at the structure, you can't predict any name. So there has to be a standard molecule, and that standard reference molecule is glyceraldehyde. I'll write the structure here so that it will be more clearer to you. See, glyceraldehyde has this type of structure, right, which has 3 carbon atoms. Now, what we do is we have given it a standard conformation in a sense that we say this second carbon atom of glyceraldehyde behaves as the second last carbon atom adjacent to the last functional group. So here you can see one functional group is aldehyde, another is, this is primary alcoholic group. So this second carbon atom is going to behave as a 5th carbon atom here. So we have to compare this position with this. So if I say, if you look at this structure, you can see if OH group is on the right hand side, it is known as D-glyceraldehyde. But if it is situated on the left hand side, it becomes L-glyceraldehyde. Simple. You go to the structure of glucose, you see 5th carbon atom pe hydroxyl group is where? On the right hand side. So this will be D-glucose. And always remember, glucose is actually stable in its D conformation only. So this is what is how we define it. So D and L designations are based on the configuration about the single asymmetric carbon atom. Now the question can arise in your mind, what do you mean by this asymmetric carbon atom? This asymmetric carbon atom is known as chiral carbon atom. And chiral carbon atom is defined as that carbon atom in which all the 4 substituents attached are different. Very, very important. See, here it is D and L glucose. Now, chirality is this. Suppose A, B, C and D are there. We will call this carbon atom as A, B, D, E because CC will be similar. This is a chiral carbon atom. And if we see the mirror image of this, mirror image will be this. And this mirror image is non-superimposable. Non-superimposable. So those isomers which have a chiral carbon atom and which have a tendency to form non-superimposable mirror images with respect to one another are known as enantiomers. And the sugars which have a chiral carbon atom, they are known as optically active sugars. So let's compare this structure with this or this. Here you can see one chiral carbon atom is there. So this is optically active. And here, how many chiral carbon atoms are there? 1, 2, 3, and 4. So if we have to calculate the number of stereoisomers, the formula would be 2 raised to power n, where n represents the number of chiral carbon atom. Now here it is 4. So 2 raised to power 4 would be 16. So we can say 8 would be D and 8 would be L. This is how this classification is done, which is very, very important. So enantiomers are those compounds whose mirror images are non-superimposable and obviously they are optically active. And they are represented by D and L. Right? Then these are again different type of monosaccharides. Then we come over to biologically important sugar derivatives. These are also very important. Sugar acids are there. Sugars can be, because sugar is having CHO group. This CHO, if it undergoes reduction, it will form an alcohol, isn't it? And if it undergoes oxidation, it is going to form an acid. And that is what exactly happens in our body also. See, biochemistry is simply, you can say, it goes parallel with chemistry. If you people have a sound knowledge of chemistry, then obviously biochemistry, you can understand it easily. Deoxy sugars, which have deoxy group present in it, which is HH. Amino sugars, in which sugar is aminated, means NH2 group is applied. Glycoside, one more component is added. So these are what? These are actually the derivatives which have been derived from monosaccharides. Say for example, sugar acids mein you can see glucouronic acid is there. Actually what happens is, glucose, what are the different properties? If this glucose undergoes reduction, the enzyme is aldol reductase, it forms sorbitol. If glucose undergoes oxidation, it can be mild, under mild oxidizing agents, it can be under strong oxidizing agents. So under mild oxidizing agents, it forms gluconic acid. Under strong, it forms glucaric acid. But if this reaction takes place in a body with the help of enzymes by uronic acid pathway, it is known as glucouronic acid, which plays a very, very important role in detoxification reactions. Detoxification is a very, very important process which takes place in our body, and I have already posted one video of mine on detoxification, so you can refer to that video. One example I'll tell you in degradation of heme. Degradation of heme. This plays a very important role. So these are some of the properties of monosaccharides or glucose. And derivatives we have discussed. Now this glucouronic acid is produced by this pathway, because this is an enzyme catalyzed reaction. Isme you can see only this is oxidized. First functional group is not oxidized. Then sugar alcohols, sorbitol, very, very important, which plays a very important role in diabetic retinopathy. Increased concentration of sorbitol leads to the formation of cataract. So sorbitol is what? It is a reduced product of glucose, and the enzyme is aldol reductase. Again, this is a very important enzyme. Then glucose has a tendency to form fucose. ये जो fucose है, this is a very important component of blood group substances. Blood group substances. Then amino sugars, you know glucosamine. Glucosamine is a very important derivative of the bacterial cell wall also, and it is a component of so many mucopolysaccharides. And what happens is simple. On second position, this amino group is put. So amino sugar is again a derivative of glucose. And glucosamine is a component of gangliosides, cerebrosides, mucopolysaccharides, so many components. Then we come over to now, before taking up these, let's study these disaccharides. Now, if we see, there are 3 physiologically important disaccharides: maltose, lactose, and sucrose. Maltose has 2 molecules of glucose, means one molecule of glucose combined with another molecule of glucose undergoing alpha 1,4 linkage. Lactose, one molecule of galactose, one molecule of glucose, but both in beta form alpha 1,4 linkage. Sucrose, one molecule of glucose, one molecule of fructose. It is in alpha, it is in beta. So the linkage can be alpha 1,2, it can be beta 1,2. Just for example, if I take maltose, maltose has this type of structure. There is, but glucose here is present in alpha form. So this is what is the structure of lactose. If we study the structure of, this is maltose. If we study the structure of lactose, lactose has this type of linkage because it has both in beta form. Alpha and beta I'm going to discuss once I finish up with this. And then comes sucrose, right? This is what is written in this slide. Then before starting up with the polysaccharides, one is left, which is oligosaccharides. Now oligosaccharides, I told you they have 3 to 7 monosaccharide units attached. And these oligosaccharides play a very, very important role in a sense that they help in cell-to-cell recognition. Second important function of these oligosaccharides is that it helps in distinguishing between self and non-self. So basically, it helps in immunology also. Right? Then cell-to-cell recognition, they say you must have studied the structure of cell membrane. Those antenna-shaped molecules are nothing but oligosaccharides. They help in cell signaling also. But they have 3 to 7 monosaccharide units attached to them. Then next is polysaccharides. Now polysaccharides, if we see, polysaccharides means more than 7. Polysaccharides are further divided into 2 classes: homopolysaccharides and heteropolysaccharides. Homo means same. When it has an identical monosaccharide unit, it is homopolysaccharide. When it has a non-identical unit, it is known as a disaccharide. Now this homo is further divisible into 2 classes. One is glucosans and other is fructosans. Identical units of glucose, glucosans. Identical unit of fructose, fructosans. Example of fructosans is inulins. Whereas example of glucosans are so many. Starch is there, glycogen is there, dextrins are there, chitin is there, cellulose is there. So these are the examples of glucosans. Then we come over to heteropolysaccharides. Heteropolysaccharides are also known as MPS or mucopolysaccharides or GAGs, glycosaminoglycans. Next slide, we are going to discuss this in detail. So this is how polysaccharides are classified. Right, these are the examples which I have already discussed. Then this is the structure of a polysaccharide. Always remember, if we have to differentiate between starch and glycogen, starch has two forms, amylose and amylopectin. Amylose is linear, amylopectin is branched. Amylose has alpha 1,4 linkage. Amylopectin has alpha 1,4 as well as alpha 1,6 linkage. And starch gives a red color with, starch gives blue color with iodine. Right. Glycogen, on the other hand, if we see, glycogen has alpha 1,4 as well as alpha 1,6 linkage. And glycogen is more intricately branched. Intricately branched than starch. Suppose in starch, if linkage is appearing after every 12th to 13th, say, draw it also. This is, suppose this is the linear structure and this is the branch. Again linear, again branch. So starch may, if that branching is appearing after 30th to 40th residue. In glycogen, branching will be at the 12th or 13th residue. This is the major difference between glycogen and starch. In starch, you can say the linkage appears after every 30th to 40th residue, whereas in glycogen, the linkage appears very early. And all of us know glycogen is synthesized in a body by glycogenesis, degraded to form again glucose. And if blue color is given by starch when reacted with iodine, glycogen gives a red color with iodine. So these are the basic differences between starch and glycogen among polysaccharides or homopolysaccharides. And starch always has two ends. One will be the reducing end and other will be the non-reducing end. Obviously, reducing end where carbon 1 will be free, non-reducing end where carbon 1 will be having a bond with fourth carbon atom of glucose. Then we come over to cellulose. Cellulose, all of us know cellulose is what? It is again a polymer of glucose. We cannot digest cellulose due to the deficiency of cellulase enzyme in our body. And that is why the cellulose forms a roughage. Inulins are the only fructogens, and the only function of inulins is it is used for the estimation of GFR, glomerular filtration rate. And inulin has been isolated from the roots of Dahlia. Then we come over to heteropolysaccharides. Now heteropolysaccharides, as the name suggests, hetero means different, not identical. And they are of these types. Most precisely, they are known as glycosaminoglycans. Means they have a derivative sugar, carbohydrate, and a amino group, and different derivatives of this. And heteropolysaccharides are also known as mucopolysaccharides because they are present wherever mucus is required, or right. Then examples of this are hyaluronic acid, which is found on the bacterial cell wall, and it is present in the synovial fluid also. You can see it has glucouronic acid and it has N-acetyl glucosamine. So this is one very important example. It is hydrolyzed by enzyme hyaluronidase. Second is chondroitin sulfate. Chondroitin sulfate, you can see glucouronic acid, here it is N-acetyl galactosamine sulfate. And very interesting feature about these chondroitin sulfate is it is of 4 types, A, B, C, and D. This chondroitin sulfate B is known as dermatin sulfate. Right? Then another example is heparin, which is the most common anticoagulant present in the blood. It is again a heteropolysaccharide, and the derivatives are it has sulfated glucosamine and it has idouronic acid within it. This idouronic acid is an isomer of glucouronic acid. Then we come over to a very, very important segment of this mucopolysaccharidosis. Basically, what happens is if there is deficiency of a particular enzyme, say for example, if we talk about hyaluronidase, what will happen? Hyaluronic acid won't split up into its individual components. So it will be as it is excreted in urine, causing a specific type of mucopolysaccharidosis. So this is the list of all the mucopolysaccharidosis. Always remember, every year a question is asked on these. Very, very important from examination point of view. The question can be asked about, say, Hurler syndrome is due to the deficiency of, it is iodouronidase. Hunter's is due to the deficiency of iodouronate sulfatase, and so on. So this is how you have to prepare, and this is the summarized classification of the carbohydrates. One point of classification is as per the functional group, and second is as per the moieties attached to it. Now after this, we come over to again the chemistry of carbohydrates, which is very, very important. Now enantiomers I have already discussed. They are the non-superimposable mirror images of each other. Non-superimposable. And they are optically active. Now see, if any compound which is optically active, that means it can rotate the plane of polarized light, and that is what exactly happens. If it rotates the plane of polarized light clockwise or in right direction, it will be known as dextrorotatory. And if it rotates the plane of polarized light in left direction, this is right, this is left, it will be known as levorotatory. So overall, if we see, suppose I'll write the structure of glycerolaldehyd because it is easier to write it also. Say this is dextrorotatory, and this is levorotatory, isn't it? If we see, this is optically active, this is optically active, because they are able to rotate the plane of polarized light in both the directions. If we mix the two, say plus minus, what will happen? Optical rotation of this will be nullified by the optical rotation of this. So overall, this will be a mixture, isn't it? So this mixture will be known as a racemic mixture. And this racemic mixture will be optically inactive. It has to be optically inactive because one rotation has been cancelled by the other rotation. So yahan pe the question is, this is a very good slide. In fact, it is, you can say it is explaining 3 important points. Plane of polarized light in right direction, dextro. In left direction, levo. When the two are mixed, it is racemic mixture. Overall, individually, dextro and levo are optically active. But when we mix the two, it becomes optically inactive. And this plane of polarized light, the process is known as optical rotation. But again, very important. Rotation, which is measured by polarimeter. Right? So this is optical isomerism. Then we come over to again very important concept, that is anomers and epimers. Anomers and epimers. These are the type of isomers only. But the thing is, anomers differ at C1 or carbon 1. For example, if we have, this is the structure of glucose, CH2OH. If hydroxyl group is placed downwards, because they are differing at C1, it is known as alpha form, or I can call it as alpha D glucose. And you can see the difference. There are two positions. Wait, let me write the entire structure so that it will be more clearer to you. H2OH and CH2OH and H. Now here you can see the structure is same. The only difference is regarding where? At the first position, here and here. So I can say if hydroxyl group is placed downwards, it will be known as alpha form. And if hydroxyl group is placed upwards, it will be known as beta form. So we can call these as alpha and beta isomers of glucose. So anomers are differing at C1, or they are alpha and beta. Then we come over to epimers. Epimers will differ at any position except C1. If they differ at C1, then they will be known as anomers. If they differ at any other position except C1, they will be epimers. जैसे C2, mannose is a C2 epimer of glucose. Similarly, galactose, C4 epimer of glucose. Right? And the anomers, which are differing at only carbon 1, that means they have a free functional group. So the sugars which have a free functional group, they will be known as reducing sugars. Again, very, very important. So by seeing this slide, we can say we have three very important points. One is the isomers which differ at C1 are known as anomers. Alpha and beta. Alpha is when hydroxyl group is placed downwards. Beta is when hydroxyl group is placed upwards. Epimers are the ones which are differing at any other position except C1. If they differ at C2, then mannose is an example. If they differ at C4, then galactose is an example. Then the sugars which have C1 free are known as reducing sugars. And this is the structure. You can see glucose. And here you can see, if we look at the structure of mannose, the difference is at second carbon atom. And here the difference is at 4 carbon atom. So mannose and galactose are epimers of glucose. These are the anomers. The structure I've already drawn. When hydroxyl group is placed downwards, it is alpha. When hydroxyl group is placed, it is beta. Up here, one very important thing you can see is all the forms are interconvertible, isn't it? Interconvertible. So when we dissolve them in a solution also, there will be interconversion of alpha to D, D to beta, and so on. This process is known as mutarotation. Tendency to rotate within itself is mutarotation. And this is a characteristic feature of only and only reducing sugars. Like glucose is there, maltose is there. Every sugar is reducing except sucrose. Sucrose is a non-reducing sugar. Why non-reducing sugar? Because in that the functional groups actually act with respect to one another. This is mutarotation, which I have already discussed. Monosaccharides containing asymmetric carbon atom rotate the plane of polarized light. An exchange between alpha and beta form. can see, and they always give an angle of rotation like this. Then other properties are, you can say कि जैसे glycoproteins are there, proteoglycans are there. These are the different type of, you can say, carbohydrates which are combining with proteins. If we talk about glycoproteins, so you can say protein component is more. If we talk about proteoglycans, carbohydrate compound is more. Or you can say the thing which is present as a suffix will be more in proportion. So this is how we have differentiated between different type of glycosidic bonds. O glycosidic bond and N glycosidic bond. O is when hydroxyl group of an anomeric carbon atom reacts with an alcohol which has OH group. And N is when it reacts with an amine because it is providing N. This is providing O. That is why O glycosidic bond and N glycosidic bond. Right? So here we finish up with the basic chemistry of carbohydrates. I hope some of the terms which are very, very important like anomers, epimers, they are clear to all of you. You should be, after seeing my video, you should be able to differentiate between anomers, epimers, and different classes of carbohydrates. Another important thing which I am going to tell you here is about sucrose. You know, this sucrose is known as an invert sugar also. Because just now I told you about the concept of dextro and levo. Sucrose appears to be dextrorotatory because it has glucose and fructose. But levorotatory power of fructose minus 91 degrees overweighs to that of glucose. So there is inversion of configuration. Inversion of configuration, that is why the sucrose is known as invert sugar. So this is all about the basic chemistry of carbohydrates. Then in my next video, I will be discussing about the metabolism of carbohydrates. So if you want to again study the metabolism of carbohydrates, and if you think I can justify, I can, solve all your queries, whatever is there in your mind, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. So that's all for now. Have a good day. Bye-bye.